Welcome to the Reboot Era, a podcast for anyone who's ever been laid off, ghosted mid-interview, or just burned out by the broken hiring systems. I'm Dray Jankowski, and in this pilot episode, I'm joined by Chrissy, who was laid off with me on the same call by the same company. The title of this episode is We Got Laid Off, Now What? So let's talk about it. It's been 46 days since the incident. Should we call it an incident? Should we just call it what it was? We got laid off. Maybe we should introduce ourselves. So I'm Dray Jankowski.
I'm Christina, aka Chrissy.
Dr. Christina.
I don't like when people call me doctor. It makes me seem old.
Well, old or knowledgeable, and you have a lot of knowledge, but let's talk about what happened. I have your text message here from 7 a.m. my time, and you said on May 7th, hey, did you see that email from the CEO? I was like, I'm not even out of bed. No. Like, what's happening? I had two other messages at the time from two people outside the company who texted me being like, did you hear about the rifts at your company? And I was like, guys, I haven't even woken up to take my dogs to the bathroom yet.
You know what? I saw the email, but I didn't pay too much attention to it until I start receiving all of these Slack messages. They were asking me, do you have a meeting? Did you receive an invite from the CEO or the VP of engineering? And I'm like, wait a second, let me check. And when I checked, I'm like, oh no, I have a meeting. So I'm like, let me tell Dre, where's Dre when all of this is happening? You're supposed to be the one who gives me the news. So I decided to reach out to you instead.
Dre was sleeping, but it was your day off, wasn't it? If I remember correctly.
Yes, it was my day off. I'm like, great. I was at my doctor's appointment, but I have Slack on my phone and everyone was sending me messages. And then I received an invite on my day off. I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah. It's crazy how it went down. For those that are listening, basically we got an email at 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 9 p.m., I think it was. And it came from their CEO. There's a YouTube video out there lingering on that I made. And I read the email out, and it's essentially telling us that there were layoffs happening at the company after we had been told repeatedly that like layoffs wouldn't be a thing and that we had really great cash flow, that we didn't have to worry. And then within an hour and a half, I think most people, if not everyone, received a meeting invitation that was just broadly named like follow up from CEO's email. It was a webinar, and in the webinar, they just spoke to us, read us like a legal statement, and like laid us off. And within 2-3 minutes after the call, everyone's computer just essentially turned off or turned into the safety mode where you couldn't access any of the company information anymore. You were completely logged off, and it was a wild time.
Yeah, I received the email at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I was reaching out to other program managers to see if they had the meeting invite, and quite a few did. And I'm like, oh my goodness, so what do we do now? Do we panic? Do we wait to see what happens? So it did take me by surprise, like you said, that we had great cash flow, and I wasn't expecting a layoff. So yeah, it was a surprise for sure.
Yeah. And, the good thing about companies that grow very quickly, or most companies today, is there's always somebody or somebodies who go and make alumni groups. And I think that was my first safe haven, is like I posted on LinkedIn and instantly I got added to this alumni group that I didn't even know existed. And I invited you to it. And there was so many peers that I didn't know had been impacted by layoffs that were also in this group all of a sudden on the same day. And there was introductions, and, to the people who made that, thank you. If you are ever impacted by layoffs, definitely look for something like that. But what have you done since? Talk to me about what life is like post layoff.
Oh, wow. Post layoff. All right, to be honest, this was my fourth layoff since 2019. So in my mind, I was shocked, but then I'm like, okay, it's business as usual. Let me pivot on some of the other projects that I'm working on. So I decided to start writing my book again. I started working for the company May 2024. And that's when I stopped writing my book. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be idle.
Wait, so to be clear, you were writing a book back in 2024, or you put the book down in 2024 because you started your employment with our previous employer?
I started writing my book in 2022, and I was about 75% done, and I put it down once I started working for our current employer.
What's the book about?
It's about burnout. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, the irony.
It's about overcoming burnout. And I stopped writing my book because I wanted to focus on my new role. And along with that, I wanted to be part of a podcast or this podcast.
Well, this is
And
new. This is brand new, right?
yeah,
Like
no,
we
no, no, yes. So afterwards, and then I was inspired by one of your LinkedIn posts and decided to check out some of the freelancer sites like Upwork, Freelancer, Fiverr.
did you find something?
Yeah, a short-term project manager contract, but it's only for a month. So I did find something. I applied to quite a few, so I'm
That's
working on
awesome.
that. So yeah.
Well, good. And we should set the record straight. We were never we were kind of on the same team, right? At some point, like we were like in the same org, but we were never like maybe for a week or two we were like teammates and we would call into the same bi-weekly call for like a minute and then you got moved under a different director and we started to decentralize the PMO. And so I kind of stayed with my current manager. You went to a different manager, and we really only spoke like once a week just to check in on like Fridays or Mondays, right?
Yeah, that's true. We didn't have the opportunity to work on any projects together, but at least we got to stay in touch because, in the PGM world, we're so busy i- in our own silos. I don't like the word silos, but that's what it is. We're so busy, focused on our own programs or projects that we don't have time to talk to each other. So I would send you Slack messages once a week or every other week to see how you're doing.
Yeah, and it's crazy because there's people who I worked with every single day there who I haven't spoken to really since getting laid off. And I didn't speak with you that often because we didn't really work together. Once a week, we would have like a 2 or 3 messages. And my text messages, I think you're at the top. You are like, we text. I had to scroll pretty far to find the May 7th messages of like what happened and what you had sent me. So it just goes to say that I think it's crazy the friends that you can make even when you didn't talk to somebody very much. And it's happened with a few other people. I won't name drop, but a few people who I never worked with at the company, they've reached out a ton. They've been a huge supporter. They've been my biggest fan. They've been my new friend, and just getting and using that network to leverage each other to kind of get through this. So you're writing your book. Do you have a anticipated end date for this book?
I would like to launch my book at least by August because I have spent a lot of time like reviewing it, editing it. I have some editors who are going through my book as well. So I'll give myself time until August, but I'm not rushing the book, but at least by the end of the year I want to publish this book.
And where should people look for it? Like, do they come to your LinkedIn page and they can get an update on when that book is launched? Or,
I'm targeting Amazon because on the side I do like create different coloring books or planners. So Amazon publisher, and then I'll post it on LinkedIn. But what about you? What have you been working on?
this? This is it. It's been wild, I would say. Day one. I mean, I also just want to, pay tribute to the fact that we we got let go, and like within what an hour or two, I think I had called you to be like, I just got the call, and that was crazy. And you were like, hold on, I'm on an interview. Bruh. Like you were interviewing so quickly for jobs. Let's just not skip over that little fact. So she's writing books. She's doing crazy things out here, but you were on top of it. I mean, I was like, where do I start? And I kind of turned to LinkedIn, and this goes into kind of what I've been doing. I turned to LinkedIn. I was like, I don't post on here. I don't really use LinkedIn that much unless I'm looking for a job, and I wasn't. And so I went to LinkedIn and I started seeing all these posts from my peers who had got let go, and then also other people in different industries that also got let go. Microsoft was having layoffs like within a week of our layoff. Google had layoffs recently. Amazon has layoffs. Meta's having layoffs. Like all these tech companies, and then even the non-tech companies out there. I think PwC had layoffs, and so my entire feed, because of my post, it just started blowing up with people who have been laid off. And then I started getting stories and seeing all of these things out there of people who have been laid off for months and then a year and then 2 years. And I think the biggest one I saw was somebody who was laid off for 4 years, but I didn't dive into like what that person did. So the one that was the biggest to me was someone who was laid off for 2.5 years, and it was at the point where they couldn't afford Wi-Fi, they couldn't afford internet, they couldn't afford transportation to the job interviews if they got them. And to me, I was like, this is so scary. What's out there for resources for people? And I quickly kind of uncovered this gap that there isn't a lot of free resources for people to start turning to. So I decided to just document the journey. And it started with the recording of getting laid off, and it turned into what would I do if I was going to share my entire journey with people. And I started with a resume, prompt for ChatGPT, telling people about ChatGPT and Gemini, talking about some of the stuff that I did at my previous company, talking about cover letters, are they worth it? Posting every single day on LinkedIn, because showing up and being visible helps people see you and potentially choose you for an interview. Though I will say it's been 46 days and I've not had one interview. So, take that with a grain of salt.
But quite honestly, Dre, the reason why I reacted so quickly, again, I was laid off 4 times since 2019. And one of my friends, she's like, well, how old are you? You're what, late 20s, early 30s? I said early 30s. And she's like, wow, you were laid off 4 times since 2019. That's insane. What's going on with the job market? So, quite honestly, the first time I was laid off, I was traumatized. The second time, it's like I relived that trauma. And then the third time, I'm like, I will never allow this to happen again. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to keep my LinkedIn updated. I'm going to be connected with all of these recruiters. So I wanted to make sure that this time around I'm prepared, because I have a best friend. She's been laid off for 2 years. She was a senior product manager, which I saw so many job opportunities in the product management space, more than program management or project management. And I'm just shocked that she's still looking for a job. She had to move in with, allow her son to move in with her, and she's driving Uber. This is someone who had product managers reporting to her. She was in the cybersecurity space. I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want this to happen to me. I need to be prepared. And then on top of that, I'm not sure if you knew, my dad had a stroke 2 years ago. Earlier this year, he had a heart surgery. So I do have to support, in a way, my father too. Because if it was just me, I would be like, okay, well, I'm just going to relax. I'm going to work on some of my dreams. But with all of that going on, I'm like, oh my goodness, I need to hurry up and find something to do.
It's things that I think nobody plans for, right? You don't plan to get laid off. It's more, I feel like it's more rare that you hear, hey, we're going to do layoffs in a month, and then you get to prepare for it, or they tell you you have so much time. I think in the EU or overseas, they have restrictions where you have to tell the employee with enough advance notice. So they have a little bit of time to kind of digest what they're going through, but they also have to work for you for an additional month or so before they get laid off. And no one talks about the fact that you might have kids, or you have an elderly father or a sick father or mother who needs help. And I was living in a expensive house and neighborhood prior to moving last year, thankfully. And I was supposed to be on a road trip all year this year. I had planned out my entire summer. I even took the time to plan out this 1 year financial plan. I was like, I'm going to pay everything off, because we got paid very well. Our compensation was very good at this company. And then the axe came, and I was like, I just spent all my money paying off a ton of stuff, but I still have a lot of other debt. And I have the cost of living
Yeah.
and 2 dogs. What am I gonna have to drive for Uber? And I don't want to. I definitely like my life. I liked the way it was. I didn't want to leave. I wasn't at that point, but I've kind of turned to humor, because I I always say I was a personality hire. I was the funny one. And
That's true.
and so now I try to use humor. I joined TikTok, which I was like against TikTok before this, and now I'm like at this point I'm desperate. It's this or Uber. So I've joined TikTok. I have an Instagram now. I have LinkedIn that I use, YouTube videos, and I'm just out here making content for people and hopefully making people laugh as much as I can. And that's what I'm hoping to do with this podcast is just shine the light on the fact that people are human and we all have stories and hopefully we can laugh along the way. I had a really great conversation with someone, um, which is an episode that's going to come out, which I'm excited for about AI. But maybe we can talk a little bit about, you know, you brought up an interesting point about how you've been laid off multiple times. It's not that you were like prepared for this layoff, but you essentially were prepared for the layoff, right? Like multiple streams of income. You definitely make sure not to ever just have and rely on one stream of income, right?
That's correct. And the crazy thing about it is before our layoff, I was relaunching my e-commerce and I told you 2 weeks ago, I'm like, yay, it's a small win. I made my first sale. Like I have a boutique called Parker's Boutique that sells all types of clothing. And I want to add a clothing line for like our pets too, because you love dogs, I love cats. And
Do
people love
it.
their fur babies. They are babies. They are our babies. So I was able to make my first sale 2 weeks ago. So, yes, after all of the layoff experience that I had, I'm like, I need to have multiple streams of income. What are my talents? I really had to hone in and think about what am I good at? I'm a great writer. I can write for days. I have children books, I have planners. Now I have my online Shopify e-commerce store. So I believe in multiple streams of income because we live in a different time. You know, my parents were able to work for one company and then retire. They could stay at the company for 40 plus years. But since I've been in the job market, I'm like, it's not that way for us. So maybe we do need to open that TikTok, even though we're starting off small. Maybe you need to start that podcast. I mean, it's fun. It's another source of income, even though it's not enough. It may bring in, you know, some amount.
Yeah, a few dollars maybe one day. I would say in the beginning it definitely it doesn't. I don't have a six pack, so I can't just take my shirt off and get followers. But you know, hopefully my humor works. The funny thing with TikTok, you know, people don't talk about this, but like I like to think that I'm both funny. Like I feel like I could go on a stage and tell some jokes and people would laugh. But that's very like uncomfortable. And this whole experience, by the way, like the entire thing of posting every day on LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, it's like kind of cringeworthy, but I just push past it and I'm like, you know what? Who cares? Maybe I'll help someone. I recently started driving around with I wrote on the windows of my car and I was like laid off, not looking for money, but a job or a follow on TikTok wouldn't hurt. And I got a you can check it out. I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos from a guy who was like, "Hey, I saw you driving down Eagle Road, and I threw you a subscription." And he's like, "I'm gonna watch all your videos," and I was like, "LOL, this worked." like it's crazy, you know. I have a sign. I haven't written it up yet, but I'm writing it up. So this weekend coming up is 4th of July. So when everyone hears this episode, it will have passed. So you might have to reach out and ask what happened. But this weekend's coming up is 4th of July, and I am taking a sign and I'm going to dress up in like a suit and I'm going to San Francisco. I'm also going to do it here in Boise, but I'm going to stand on the side of the road with a sign. And the sign's going to be like, you want to blow something up this weekend? How about my TikTok or my YouTube? It's going to have my I'm just hoping someone like takes a picture of it and like I'm that guy who like gets trended and they're just like, what is this guy doing? Because I have a mouth to feed and it's my mouth. So I am begging for followers at this point. But who knows? This is the first episode, first video that we're making on the podcast. Um, what else? What else do we have going on?
One thing I want to say, I would say that your LinkedIn posts have been very helpful. I tagged two of my mentees and they were able to use the job tracker that you created to start
Awesome.
tracking their jobs. So it does matter. even though it's starting off small, I'm like, "What? You were able to use it?" They're using it as a tool because I'm like, "Okay," and it's easy to use. It's not this complicated software that you have to pay for and then learn how to use, but just those simple things help. They mean a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm glad that somebody, I don't think they're the first. I've had a few people reach out. I actually got an email. I don't have it pulled up right now, but I got a random email from someone that just said, "Hey, I've been watching your YouTube videos, and I just want to say thank you so much because they've been so helpful. I've been unemployed for 6 months. I'm at the point where I don't know where else to turn, and I don't have the money to keep paying for subscriptions to different things that will help me or claim to help me. And this free content's just really, really helpful. And it's nice to know I'm not alone." And I was like, of course, this is a conversation. This is what I like to call, the reboot era. These layoffs are not just my story, they're our story. And anyone should feel welcome to reach out if they want to join the podcast, which we should talk about. We actually have a really fun, extensive guest list. So first and foremost, we created this podcast, both you and I. It was my idea, but you were my sounding board 100%.
Yeah.
And as you heard, Chrissy has a ton of stuff going on. So she's going to be a frequent guest and co-host on this podcast. You're going to hear her time to time, but not on every episode. And she's also done an amazing job at reaching out to people and getting them to come tell their stories and share what they want to share on our podcast. So I'm excited to hear from some of those people. But we've put together a pretty extensive list of random people on the internet that we've reached out to and try to get on this podcast. So stay tuned for what's in store. But what are you looking forward to? What do we've talked about kind of the layoff. We talked about what we did immediately after the layoff, but what's next for us? What are we doing?
Oh, wow. Honestly, I'm still figuring out what am I doing? Do I want to continue to search for different opportunities on Upwork? I'm always going to write books no matter where I work, even if it's like every other 3 to 4 years, because I'm a writer. I love writing and I don't look to it as paying the bills. But if one of my books becomes a bestseller, great. So I really want to spend some time to think about what I want to do. Like you mentioned earlier, I have a list of things that I'm doing right now, but for the purpose of staying sane, I need to pick out like what are the important things to me? What do I need to do next? There is one thing I want to do next, but I think we can talk about it at a later time. My business idea that we've been discussing,
Yeah.
that is something I want to do next once I finish clearing my schedule. But I still need to figure out what I want to do because I can't do everything. I have a nonprofit that rescues animals, but that's only like 2% of my time. And I
This
look
girl
at it
doesn't sleep. For everyone listening, she doesn't sleep. She doesn't have bags under her eyes, and she looks perfect. You can't see her on camera right now, but she looks perfect, and she doesn't sleep. You've heard now. She writes children's coloring books. She's writing a book. She has an elderly parent who she's helping out. She has a ton of siblings, which you haven't heard about yet. She has a ton of relatives. She sponsors her niece. She is delivering the word of God every second she can. She's amazing. She's doing the Lord's work. She rescues puppies, not just puppies, dogs. She is a driver. She's basically Oprah, guys. She's basically Oprah. So if anyone out there wants to be an assistant for Dr. Chrissy, reach out because she needs an assistant. She needs someone to help her with her time. But she's doing amazing stuff. And the business idea that you mentioned, is this the idea that we've been talking about? That one?
yes.
That's exciting. We can't say more about it yet, but just know that things are in the works, guys. Like we're trying things. We're hustling out here because we wanna fix problems in the world. So definitely more on that at a later date. But that's not the only one, weren't you? You were also, you've heard about other businesses from other people.
Some people are trying to build security apps, some people are trying to build blockchain apps, but I had to step back from those two businesses and really focus. So I think I'm going to spend the rest of this summer, not the whole summer, like focusing on what I really want to do and finish my book. Um, of course, take care of my father, make sure he's fine, my own health, keep my sanity. But I'm not sure yet.
Next time you're here, next time you're on an episode, we're gonna get an update from you. Or when you have an update, you let us know and let's open an episode talking about that. But you did touch on something that I thought was important to maybe discuss for a moment, which was like it's I feel like I've seen a lot of people get laid off in the past. And I'm guilty of being the person who scrolls right past their post and I'm like, that will never happen to me. And now I'm here on the other side and I don't expect a thing from anybody because I was the person who scrolled past. Some things I read from people who are negative about layoffs, I roll my eyes because I'm like, you don't get it until you get it, until you're going through it. But I feel like there's a bigger wave of people right now in 2025, maybe in the last year, who, when they got laid off, they like pivoted to having ideas about doing something. And I hope that like in the future, people, whether it's, VCs, venture capitalists, like private equity, I feel like previously they had such a structure to how you had to get funding. You had to know somebody, you had to get the meeting on the calendar, you had to do a thing. Like so many people now have this like all these crazy ideas. I hope that VCs and stuff can open their eyes to changing their process a little bit and like helping way more people. It will only be a win-win, but also maybe there will be an idea that somebody works on where like they help, and it's not necessarily a nonprofit, but they help people who have ideas like bring them to fruition and help them navigate the space because you yourself and myself, we're both program managers in our backgrounds. But some of the ideas we might have, you need a developer, you need financials, you need a marketer, you need all of these different areas. And with AI and all the things that AI is doing, it definitely helps. Like you can get a lot of that done with AI today, but no one's like teaching you how to do it. And you really do have to self-learn. So it's a weird space, but I'm glad that people are hustling out there. And I hope that those apps that you or business ideas that you mentioned, I hope they take off and go crazy.
I hope so too. I really do. Now, I will say my sister and I, we went to it was so nice, a children's business event yesterday in Norfolk, Virginia. It was for children who had special talents and they would bring their businesses to that event and you can like help them. There was a painter out there. There was a young girl who created like jewelry, people who created like schedulers and planners. So we went out there, and my sister and I were having a conversation about what I want to do next. Now, here's an idea she shared with me, but I'm like, let me think
Steal it.
about it
Let's
first.
steal it. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't want to like jump into something and I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have went this route. But she is a clinical psychologist, but she also works on government contracts. She was like, you should consider government contracts, like applying and seeing if you're able to win a proposal. And I'm like, well, I'll look into it, I'll think about it, but I don't want to rush into that arena either. I'm the type of person who likes to think about it first, do my own
What would you
research,
do
and
with
then
this? Wait, talk more about this. So what's the thought here? As a like you would write government contracts or like what would you do?
I would apply to different government contracts. For example, like SAMS.gov has like federal contracts. They do have some related to program management or development. For the state of Virginia, their website is called like eVendor, where you can provide your services to the state of Virginia. So I have been doing research on how to get started, but you have to understand how to write government contracts, understanding how to read those proposals, and those proposals are long. I was
They're
looking at
very
one with my
long.
sister and one was over 70 pages. I'm like, okay, you would really have to spend a lot of time and dedication to understand the language. Yes, we have ChatGPT, which we can upload it to and have it to like spit out a summary of it, but we still want to take time to read through those requirements because ChatGPT isn't perfect. And then you actually have to write a proposal and apply with your own company. So there's a lot of steps you have to take to
Hmm.
apply for state and federal contracts. And then you have to have their human resources, the payroll. It's like starting your own company, but having everything in place. You need the business insurance. You have to have
It's a
a
lot.
capability statement. Yes, a lot.
You
It
know, I
is.
used to work in defense contracting.
Oh, wow.
Um, it's like a very small stint of my life, but I had this awesome manager who gave me a chance and hired me. I was the youngest person on the team. I feel like I was the youngest person at the company. Like it was a
Wow.
very old. I worked at Raytheon, fun
Oh,
company to work at.
okay.
Yeah, and so what I was gonna say is if you're interested in like that avenue, subcontract program management is like an entire field at Raytheon. And I would love to connect you with some people that I used to work with over there because I feel like they're always hiring, or at least they know someone who's hiring. And it was an amazing team and company that I worked for. Um, I really don't have anything bad to say about them. I liked my time there. I would say the only thing is like for me, I was so new to my career. I didn't know the value that I could add yet. And I felt like I needed way more experience before I could really make a difference there. But I've seen some of the people's careers just blow up there and like they go crazy. But to your point, those contracts are very long and there's a lot of language in them. But if you can do the subcontract program management, it's a really cool avenue.
Did you have flexibility? Because for my next career or even my next business, I do want flexibility. I mean, after all, my book is about burnout. I experienced burnout 3 years ago, where the point was I was so sick. I was in the hospital maybe every 4 months because of chronic anemia. I was too busy to eat. I wasn't sleeping, and
I will
I don't
never
want my
ever
yeah.
say I'm too busy to eat. Like eating's I love eating. I'm eating all the time. I just ate before this. Like I don't care how busy I am. I'll never be too busy. Like, are you kidding? Have you seen me? I'm huge. My dogs are like, we eat very well because I give them some of my food, but I will never be too busy to eat. So,
But you know what I
goals.
mean? I want flexibility. Like,
I think that we're still in a world where like most jobs are 40, 50 hours a week. It's Monday through Friday. You show up at 8 or 9, you leave at 5 or 6. You have a commute. Maybe you have a hybrid commute. So it's like 2 or 3 days in the office, or you're in one week, you're out the other week. I don't think we're at a place yet where like companies have recognized that everyone has a life. Well, I won't say they've recognized it. They just won't let us have the life that we want to have. So I don't think you're gonna find. I'd be surprised if you found something that like gives you flexibility, and I wonder if that's something that we'll see in the future. If employers will allow that. I mean, if AI is a thing, why can't you just give us a job, but give us less hours, right? Give me a 20-hour a week job, pay me half the salary, and let me do some stuff. You know what I mean? Keep me employed, give me healthcare. That's the worst part for me about this layoff is like I don't have healthcare right now and I like need healthcare. So that's fun. I know you're probably thinking like Cobra or you could pay for like marketplace healthcare, but I don't have income. So that's a lot of money to spend on healthcare.
it is expensive. I have to say, because I purchase healthcare through one of my relatives because they sell like insurance, and healthcare is very expensive. But still, my next role has to allow flexibility. Okay, say if it's 40 to 50 hours a week, then it needs to be remote only because that's important to me. I am not ready to fight traffic again. I know the area I live in is somewhat rural, but not really. When it comes to leaving the city of Suffolk, where I live, to Norfolk, you have to leave at least 2.5 hours early so that you can get to work on time. That's standstill traffic, and I'm not willing to accept a role where most of my time is taken like fighting traffic, and I don't want that type of stress. I will take less income with more flexibility. I'm being honest.
No, for real. I mean, it's a real thing out there that people have to weigh the pros and cons for. But I mean, it would be nice to have the options for sure. And it sounds like you do or you will, but there are some people out there who don't even have the options. And It's like, what do you do in those situations? I will say when I got an offer for an interview, they felt like I would be a perfect candidate. It was a real person, a real job. I turned it down because it was only like a week into the layoff and I had no idea what I wanted to do yet. So I wanted to take time. Maybe I'll regret that. Maybe I won't get anything. I will say some findings that I found out have been that certifications are way more relevant and important than educational background right now. It seems to be, I think the study I read was like 73% of employers find that if you have certifications like a PMP, for example, they weigh that heavier than if you have a bachelor's degree. They also weigh it heavier than potentially the last role that you did. So those certifications really matter, but I wish I would have known that. And I wish people would have shared those statistics with me or I would have found them while I was gainfully employed because those certifications are very expensive. A PMP is like $400 to $600 depending where you're getting it done, and there's really only like two or three places you can get a PMP. You have to, in order to get it, they typically want you to pay for a membership annually to wherever you get it, like the PMI, and then on top of that, you have to show that you did a course. And I tried to find courses out there just to like look to help someone, and the cheapest course I could find was for $140 for them to take. So you have to spend $140 to take a 35-hour course. On top of that, you're probably going to want to study. So you have to buy like a $40 or $50 book, probably pay for a $40 or $50 simulation. That's another $100, so $240. Then you have to pay for the actual like taking the course or taking the test to get your PMP, which again, 405 to like $600. So all in all, you're almost paying $1,000, 800 to $1,000, and that's if you get it the first time. If you fail, you have to you have to pay again. Like that's wild to me. And you're unemployed. You have no income, and maybe unemployment, but that's paying for your food, right? I don't know. To me, it's crazy.
It is crazy because, like you said, those certifications are expensive. I know when I started out in the PM world as a business analyst, I worked in healthcare. So we were required to have those certifications if we wanted a PM role or program management role.
When did you take your PMP?
Oh my gosh.
It's been a while, right? It's changed. I was just looking into it, and it in the last few years, because mainly because of COVID, it changed. So now you can take the test remotely and from your computer, and you have a proctor who like watches you. But you also like it's not just multiple choice questions for 180 questions. It's like there's 5 different types of questions you have to match. You have to know formulas. Like it got a little bit more intense. And not saying that the people who got it previously had it easier, but they've definitely switched it up.
And another thing is when you have your PMP or your certifications, you still have to pay a yearly fee to keep them relevant. And
Could you imagine if we had to pay for like you got a degree and then they were like, "Oh yeah, you just paid $250,000 to get a degree. Now you have to pay us every year to keep that degree." And it's like, "What do you mean? I just paid you all the money to get it." Yeah, I wish that that wasn't a thing. I hope one day, maybe the thing we work on, we can make it so that it's not that expensive. And I don't understand why it has to be. I really don't get why what am I paying for? I also had to pay a local chapter fee. That was fun. So you have to pay a local chapter fee for something that I may or may not go to. Are they giving me free food at these chapters meetings? Do you get free food at yours?
do you consider chips and dips food?
I want chips and dip now. um, I don't know if I consider it like a primary food, but I've definitely had like girl dinner before, and that was my girl dinner. Like chips and dip with some milk. Like that's all I had.
It definitely needs to change. And I really wish there were like grants or some type of financial assistance for people who are unemployed so that they can pursue those certifications, even the Scrum Master certification. If it wasn't for support from my family, I would have never been able to take that training years ago. That was back in 2016 or 2017. There was a 2-day training. I had to drive to Richmond because at that time there wasn't a virtual option. So that's the hotel bill. I had to stay there 2 days. The training itself was $1,200.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, for the CSM, and then every year I pay a fee to renew it. And I'm like, this isn't fair. Why do have to keep on paying to keep the certification relevant? And you have to input the amount of hours you spent
Yeah.
utilizing this certification. So it's like, wow.
0. I didn't use it.
Zero.
How much, like, it would be interesting to know how much an offer would have been. Like, I wish I could see the offer real time, right? Like if I get selected for an interview, which by the way, as we've been talking, I got a LinkedIn notification that says that I'm a top applicant for this specific job and 240 other jobs, and I guarantee you if I apply, I won't be a top applicant, and I guarantee you I won't get an interview. So I wish LinkedIn would stop lying to me and gaslighting me to thinking that I'm a top applicant. But either way, if you were going through this process, you get to the hiring manager, they're like, "Hey, we like you." I wish they would give you, like, from the start, this is roughly how much you can expect to make. And then be, they ding you like every single time, like, "Hey, you have a bachelor's degree, so we add $10,000. You have 6 certifications, 3 of them are relevant, so we add, $5,000 per certification, right? So here's the base salary plus all the things that we liked. And as you go through the interview, you can kind of see how you're doing. And, if you're moving forward, ideally they're saying, okay, we're narrowing down to a number, right? That would be so cool to be able to understand, because are you actually like taking these certifications and they're paying you more, or is it just getting you an interview and then they're paying and then they're lowballing you?
Definitely, it's helping me get interviews, but I'm not being paid my worth, I would say.
Yeah.
I would say, yeah. And now that um, people are being laid off, the job market is so dense that they're able to pay you less. I went on quite a few interviews. I'm like, oh my goodness, wait, this is not even a senior level role, and you want to pay this amount? But they
Yeah.
have so many other applicants to choose from. So it's like, do I take the job because I'm worried that I may not get another opportunity? Or do I keep searching to see if someone will pay me my worth? So that's like a struggle of what do you do? Do you take a lower paying job that demands the same amount of time for,
If
oh
not
my goodness.
more.
Yeah, if not more.
Those are my favorite. They're like, "Hey guys, we're looking for 3 to 5 years of experience, but this is entry level. So really, you don't need to have any experience. We want someone fresh out of college with 3 to 5 years of experience. We are offering $5 a day to do the job, and there's no free lunch. And that $5 cannot go to the gas money you're going to spend to drive 15 hours one way to the job. Please come and work for us." And then the best part is, like, the people who did work there, they like finally interview for a new place or a new company, and then the company who interviews you is like, "Well, why have you only been a program manager one for 6 years?" And you're like, "Are you kidding me? I At least I had a job." Like, you're
Yeah.
questioning why I didn't move up. I don't know why I didn't move up, because someone didn't pick me to move up. It's not like I didn't do the job. I did enough of the job to continue working there. I didn't get fired. So I don't know. It's this whole system is messed up. And that's what we're here to talk about and maybe one day fix. Who knows?
We need to, because you should not have to apply to, how many did I apply to? 872 jobs just to
In
get a
46
few.
days. Is that how
Not even
many?
46 days. In the month of May. In the
Oh
month of
my.
May alone.
Which May 7th was the day that we got let go. So from May 7th to May 31st, you applied to 842 jobs.
Yes.
No one's paying you to do that. You're doing that for free,
I know.
Like, that's just your time. And people should pay you. Like, unemployment should tack on, like, for every job that I applied to, like, took the time out of my day, give me an extra $10. Why not?
They would
let me
never.
let me take out of my 401k. No, I don't know. It's crazy. Let's what are we going to talk about? What else do we have? So this podcast, we have 7 pillars. Let's talk about those for a second. We're going to have layoffs and unemployment. This is going to be mainly about people who got laid off, people who are currently unemployed, what the job market's currently like, and just the reality of how hard this can be every day. We have motivation and momentum. This is going to be all about what keeps you motivated. How do you keep going? Is it waking up every day and like doing 100 jumping jacks before you start your day, or is it just the momentum of like if you apply to 3 jobs a day, at the end of the month you've applied to 90 jobs and you have higher chances, right? Mental health and renewal, because your mental health during working hours and when you have a job is important. But let me tell you, I hope nobody ever becomes unemployed or gets laid off. The mental health that you go through, like it is almost more important because it's so stressful, and the amount of rejections. Imagine, well, open your dating apps and the amount of rejections you get, it's worse with job applications today. Like, I was once filling out a job application. This is a joke I like to make. I was once filling out a job application, and 20 minutes into the application, while I'm filling it out, they sent me an email saying that I'm not select. I didn't even submit the application yet. And they were like, "We've decided to move forward." Like, can you at least let me finish the application? That's how it is out here. Anything you want to say about those three, and then I'll keep going.
Mental health is the most important one for me because, it, how do I say this? It's important. It's important, and just looking at everything that's gone on LinkedIn, I believe we're going to have quite a few people talk about like their journey, and it doesn't have to be negative either. They may say, "Hey, well, I'm doing art therapy. I may have an art therapy session." I saw that on LinkedIn. So I can't wait until we touch on this topic and we have some callers to come in to talk about mental health so we can at least, make people laugh or show people different alternatives they can complete my sentence, Dre.
They can explore, they can try to make their mental
Exactly.
health better.
Thank you.
Honestly, of course. We have four others. We have strategy and income. This is going to be all about what people are doing that's working. How are they getting interviews? How are they updating their resumes and their cover letters? Are they using cover letters? Also, multiple streams of income, which we've touched upon in this episode, but we're going to be talking way more with great people who have the answers or have things that they've tried. Um, with this, we're also going to have success stories that come up. So we're going to have people who have done something. Maybe they sold a business, maybe they pivoted. And that leads us to our next pillar. We have redirection and reinvention. People who may have been a program manager, but after getting laid off or being unemployed for a while, decided to be an Uber driver and they've redirected. And with that, they ended up making their own business. That's not an episode that's necessarily coming, but I'm just giving you an example. Reinvention, reinventing yourself. Again, maybe you are a program manager and now you're a software developer. So we're going to try to find these success stories out in the world and hear from people like that. Let's see, what else do we have? We have closure and reflection, which I like. This one is all about the end of a chapter, reflecting on what's happened. We've done a little bit of that in this episode, and talking about just what do we wish we would have said, you know, understanding the feelings that we're having, and then identity and calling. And identity and calling is all about the why. Why are we here? Why do we do this? Why are we making this episode? Why are we making this podcast? But also why? Why are you applying to jobs? Why are you, why do you think you got laid off? Some people might have a faith answer. Other people might have money that's driving them. And some other people might just recognize that they got this intrinsic reward. I actually just saw a really cool post from someone I used to work with who may or may not be a future guest, that ended up leaving corporate America to pursue a business that they started where they're like essentially working on housing, rehoming, replacements for people who don't have anywhere to live.
Wow.
And they were like the job they were doing had nothing to do with that at all. And so I'm excited to hear from this person and see if they'll join the podcast to talk a little bit about that. Some more to come, I hope.
Hey, I'm excited.
Yes, but with that, I think this is probably a good close of this chapter, of this introduction of what we're doing on this podcast, of meeting myself, Dray, meeting Chrissy. Any closing words or any final thoughts?
Uh, I would say I look forward to the next LinkedIn post, the next podcast. I'm just excited and happy about everything. I know it sounds weird to be excited about a layoff, but I'm just a happy person and I'm excited about what's to come.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate those words. And I'll end it with check us out on LinkedIn. The link should be down in the description of this episode. Feel free to connect with us, follow us. We will always accept people of all walks of life. I'm on TikTok and YouTube. You can find Draycation, so you can get a little humor or some lessons learned and some education. And we should be having this podcast across all major podcast channels. They are on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, you name it, we're probably on it. So just check out the Reboot Era. We will be having weekly episodes moving forward. And if you hear this and you want to have a story to tell or you want to join, feel free to just reach out. That's a wrap on episode 1 of the Reboot Era. Chrissy and I got laid off on the same day, and we're just getting started rebuilding from here. If you've got a layoff story, hiring horror, or just need to vent about job searching in 2025, I want to hear it. Come join me on the podcast. The link's in the description. Until next time, stay scrappy, stay the Lulu, and keep rebooting.